Another Cody ally on the shelf. Solo sends a stern warning, and still no word on Pretty Deadly, the musical. We're talking about Friday Night Smackdown. We're diving into the big moments, the big matches, and the top stories. What were the wins and what were the big misses? Let's get to it. This is About Last Night on Rumble Rewind. Well, hey everybody, thanks for stopping by the Rumble Rewind channel. My name is Brandon, and today we are diving into all things Friday Night Smackdown, coming to you live from Omaha, Nebraska. Fun fact, I used to live in Omaha. Great place, lots of corn, like a lot. Let's get to this week's top three. First off, we are going to start out by talking about the ongoing feud between Bayley and Nia Jax. Now tonight we would get a pre-taped interview between Bayley and Nia Jax in which they talked back and forth about the last time they met and how Nia actually ended up injuring Bayley. Nia said it's because she was so much more powerful than Bayley, but Bayley said it's because she is reckless. The interview ended with Nia Jax getting frustrated and walking away after Bayley told her that she would be walking into SummerSlam as the champion and leaving SummerSlam as the champion. Now this story would continue on into the night, but now involving Tiffany Stratton. After a music video style highlight reel of Stratton's Money in the Bank win, she would make her entrance to face off against Mi Chen. Now of note here, the briefcase is still the generic white, despite how many times Tiffany said she was going to dye her pink. Now this match would take place because of Tiffany's interference in Nia Jax and Mi Chen's match last week. Now late in the match, it did appear that Tiffany had it won when Bayley came to ringside and attacked Nia Jax with Tiffany's Money in the Bank briefcase. Following the attack, Bayley would destroy the briefcase, ripping it to pieces. In all of the confusion of that interference, Mi Chen would steal the win with a roll-up. So it looks like we're going to continue the Mi Chen, Nia Jax, Bayley, and Tiffany Stratton sort of four-way rivalry. It was confirmed later in the night that we would get a tag team match in which Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax team up to take on the team of Bayley and Mi Chen. Now, the interview between Bayley and Nia Jax was really, really well done. It brought up a lot of their history, which if you don't know, their backstory was really, really helpful. For me personally, I wasn't watching a lot of wrestling at the time when Bayley and Nia Jax had that original rivalry, so it really helped me sort of catch up on the story and figure out where we're headed as we go towards SummerSlam. Now, on the Tiffany Stratton side of things, this was my big concern about Tiffany Stratton and the Money in the Bank briefcase. I fear that Tiffany taking loss after loss is going to become the normal pattern. But I don't understand why that is the way that WWE tends to book their Money in the Bank winners. I mean, think about it. Tiffany Stratton just won that briefcase in a 6-person ladder match. She comes out of it looking strong, looking capable, looking really smart to pull off the strategy that she pulled out. Why does WWE go out of their way to make Money in the Bank briefcase holders off of that win look weak and look unwise or even stupid at some points? Why make her look this way until the moment she cashes in and then retell the same old story about you only won this championship because of Money in the Bank, you got lucky, you're a paper champion, blah, blah, blah. The story's been told so many times, and I really hope that WWE will turn the corner and break the mold with Tiffany Stratton instead of having her look just weak up until the moment she becomes the champion. I could go on about this, but hopefully I don't have to. I really hope that they turn the corner and make Tiffany look strong leading into her eventual cash-in, but we'll have to see what happens from there. That said, there were a couple of really positive things about this whole situation. One, it gives some storyline when we get the hot pink briefcase. I'm confident that in the next couple of weeks, Tiffany is going to come to the ring with the hot pink Tiffy time, Tiffy in the Bank briefcase, and there's a storyline reason why. I don't know that we needed it, but it's fine. It's cool to have it. The second thing I really enjoyed about this is when Bayley destroyed the briefcase, the contents of said briefcase spilled out, and you could see a folder. Bayley kind of threw it across the ringside area. I thought that added a touch of realism to the Money in the Bank briefcase. The idea that there was an actual contract in there really kind of helped sell some of the realism of it, so I thought that that was a really nice touch. Another thing that was positive about this is it does make Bayley look strong heading into SummerSlam. I still believe that I am of the persuasion that Nia Jax is going to be the champion leaving SummerSlam, but I also think a lot of other titles are going to change hands, so I won't be completely surprised if Bayley leaves with it. But I did like that this made Bayley look strong in the moment. It makes her look like she doesn't fear the Money in the Bank cash-in, which I think is a good look for Bayley. Before we move on, tell me your thoughts on this whole feud. Tell me your thoughts on Bayley, and is she going to be correct? Will she walk out of SummerSlam as the WWE Women's Champion? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, let's move on to my number 2 story of the night, and that is Logan Paul and LA Knight. Yeah! The two of them have been in an ongoing feud for quite some time, and tonight, Aldis invited both men to come to the ring to discuss the potential match at SummerSlam. Logan Paul refused once again to sign the contract, saying that there was no reason for him to face LA Knight. Knight said that at least his brother was willing to get in the ring with Mike Tyson, and appears that that sort of fortitude does not run in the family. This pushed Paul over the edge, and he finally signed the contract and attempted to sneak attack LA Knight. However, LA Knight turned the tables and Logan bailed from the ring. Now, a little later, backstage, Santos Escobar would approach LA Knight, rehash some of the situations surrounding their Money in the Bank qualifying match, and after a brief back and forth, Knight challenged Santos to a match in the future. Santos said he didn't understand why LA Knight would want to get in the ring with him so close to his SummerSlam championship opportunity, but Santos was happy to help ruin it for him. Great stuff here from both LA Knight and Logan Paul, who finally see each other in person. They've been carrying out most of this feud via video packages, and they're finally in the ring at the same time. Now, there was a lot of heat on this promo from Logan Paul. It was really, really well done, with the exception that from time to time, Logan dipped a little bit too far into the insider language that might have lost the casual fan. Honestly, the only thing missing from Logan Paul's promo was some sort of reference to LA Knight being Max Dupree and trying to start a modeling agency. But outside of that, Logan kind of went all in after LA Knight. Personally, I am really looking forward to this match. I know it is going to be excellent. Both of these guys are great in the ring, and it is going to be really, really good physical storytelling. That said, you've got to think that this is the time when LA Knight is finally going to get some WWE singles gold, right? Yeah! Honestly, if Knight doesn't get this win and walk away with the United States Championship, I think that might be WWE's way of telling us as fans it's never going to happen. So I hope that's not the case. I really want to see LA Knight get this win. I really want to see LA Knight get this championship and walk out with his first title in the WWE. But let me know your thoughts on this feud, and do you think it is finally time for LA Knight to get his hands on some WWE gold? All right, before we talk about my top story of the night, let's jump into some other things that took place on this show with some quick thoughts. First off, we got a promo of Carmelo Hayes getting a shirtless haircut, and he used that opportunity to talk up his match against Andrade. Andrade did pick up the win in this match with the message after a fast-paced back-and-forth bout that actually allowed both men to replay some of their greatest hits from Money in the Bank. And I gotta say, both of these guys are phenomenal in the ring. They're both really, really good storytellers, and I hope that this can lead to some sort of feud or ongoing back-and-forth scenario that can actually elevate both guys. It's possible, and I really hope to see that as we move forward. All right, moving on from there, we would also see a backstage moment in which Piper Niven and Chelsea Green were once again looking for Nick Aldis, but again, they ran into Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. This argument would result in Bianca challenging Chelsea to a match on this episode. That match would follow that segment, and Bianca would win with a roll-up in less than about 3 minutes. Now, afterwards, the Unholy Union would appear on screen saying they've heard what Bianca and Jade have been saying about wanting the tag team titles back, and that they'd be at Smackdown next week to give them a brief glimpse of that gold. But as for the rematch, they'll have to wait and see. All right, so some quick thoughts on this. There's something good here, and that is that the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships are getting a little bit of time and a little bit of story. That's great. I hope to see that continue, even when it's not Jade and Bianca competing for them. However, on the other side, there's the match itself. Why are we squashing Chelsea in a match like this? Like, if they need to give Bianca the win to make it make sense for them to continue to push for the tag team championships, I get it. But at least give Chelsea Green a competitive match. The way that she showed up in Money in the Bank, she deserves better than a 3-minute squash by Bianca Belair when she could have reached the ropes. In addition to these other things that did happen, there were some noticeably missing things that made me kind of raise an eyebrow during this episode. First off, Blair Davenport and Naomi. They started the potential feud last week with Blair attacking Naomi backstage after their match, and it could really use some further development, but neither of them were on the show, which was really, really odd. Secondly, Pretty Deadly. They've been adding some fun to the show over the last few weeks, and their absence was noticeable. How are we ever going to get Pretty Deadly the musical at this rate? Come on, guys, let's do better. But tell me your thoughts. Was there anything that you thought was missing from this episode of SmackDown? What did it need? All right, let's move on and talk about the number one story for me for the evening, and it is once again the Bloodline. But I gotta be honest, this time it is the number one because there really just wasn't a whole lot of other competition on the show. Cody Rhodes would open the show and cut a promo about the Bloodline. He would also share that Randy Orton is out injured again and that Cody feels guilty. Now, during this promo, A-Town Down Under would interrupt, and they blamed Cody for the fact that they both got attacked by Jacob Fatu last week. Cody blamed Grayson Waller for all of the issues that are happening with A-Town Down Under, and Cody would attack Waller and a brawl would follow. Waller, in theory, would get the upper hand, however, as the numbers game came into effect. Eventually, top-ranked boxer and Omaha legend, who happened to be seated at ringside, gave Cody a steel chair which he would use to clear the ring. Cody was walking backstage after this, selling the effects of the fight when he ran into Nick Aldis. Apparently, he's easy to find for some people and very difficult for others. He asked Aldis for a match. Aldis said that Cody would need to find a tag team partner, and he has until the end of the night. Now, later in the night, we would see a pre-taped promo from Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline talking about the sense of mystery that was surrounding SmackDown. He said there was a mystery of who would step up and disrespect the tribal chief by teaming with Cody Rhodes. Solo threatened anyone who would team with him in this match against A-Town Down Under, and that they would feel the full wrath of the Bloodline. Now, that match was the main event, but right before, Cody was walking through the backstage area when he was approached by Kevin Owens. Cody asked Owens if he was ready, and KO said, "I'll see you out there." Now, Waller, in theory, got in a fair amount of offense during this match, but ultimately, Cody and KO would get the win after hitting kind of all of their finishing moves on both guys, but Cody would hit Crossroads on Austin Theory to pick up the pinfall. After the match, the Bloodline of course stormed the ring and attacked Cody and KO. Much like last week, the Bloodline took out KO while they forced Cody to watch. Tama Tonga eventually put a chair around KO's head and ran him into the ring post. Finally, the Bloodline put Cody through the announce table with the triple powerbomb and held up the ones to end the show. All right, the message here is that as Cody heads into SummerSlam, he has to do it alone. All of his friends are being taken out one by one. And while I'm really enjoying this story overall, this week looked almost identical to last week's situation with Randy Orton. But sometimes you need that. Sometimes there's going to be chapters that build, and they're going to look a lot like the last chapter, especially when it's a situation where each of Cody Rhodes' friends are being taken out one at a time. That makes sense. It just doesn't make for super entertaining TV. We're going to have chapters like that, and that's where we were this week. But ultimately, it was kind of this way for the entire show. This show was really filled for me with middle chapters, what felt like parts of the story that were designed to get us to the next part of the story. Now, we could say that about the Bayley and Nia Jax story as well. This was more of the same, just getting us towards SummerSlam and adding more fuel to the fire of their rivalry, which again, it's necessary, it's needed, it's just not the most entertaining thing in the world. Now, on the other side, there were some exciting middle chapters that were taking place. If you look at LA Knight and Logan Paul, that was a middle chapter in their feud, but it's kind of exciting because the first time they've seen each other face to face in the ring. Same with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill's kind of quest to regain the tag team titles. There was actual movement this week as opposed to them saying they want this match and nothing coming of it. There was actually some forward motion in that story. Now, on the other side, we did get this incredible Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes match, which was excellent from bell to bell, and I hope that we get to see this develop into an actual storyline feud. Those two could really, really do some great work together, and I really hope that we get to see them really on a big stage at some point, taking place on a PLE or something like that. I know it would be really, really well done. Now, taking all of that into consideration, though, I have to give this show about a 7 this week out of 10. Now, much like last week, I don't think it actually had enough content to fill the 2 hours. I do think it actually went off the air a few minutes early. And even within that, a lot of the content was filler, nothing super exciting. Now, I know that they're also recording next week's episode of SmackDown at the same time on that same night. And so maybe they kind of took it a little bit easy to try to save the talent for the next show. I get that. It shouldn't make a massive difference, but it's at least something to consider. But tell me what you think. How would you rate this show, and what was the highlight for you? Now, let's move on with that said to Brand Wars. Which show won the week? And I've got to say, for me this week, it was NXT by a very, very narrow margin. NXT just had the slight edge in excitement as far as storylines go, and honestly, they kind of ran away with match quality. The NXT matches were way better than the ones on Raw or Smackdown this week. So NXT breaks Monday Night Raw's month-long run of dominance and gets this week's win in Brand Wars. I thought personally that Raw would continue to dominate at least through SummerSlam, but this week NXT does pick up the win in what is kind of the equivalent of a leverage pin, just barely snuck one in there. But tell me what you think. Did I get this one right? Which show won the week for you, and what was the highlight of that show? All right, that is it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me for a bit on Rumble Rewind. Don't forget, before you go, do me a favor, scroll down, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn on your post notifications. We're getting closer and closer to that 200 subscriber goal, and once we get there, we're giving away some sweet CM Punk merch, and we want you to have that before SummerSlam, so help us make it happen. Now, all of these ways are completely free ways to support the channel, help us grow, help us get in front of other wrestling fans just like me and you. Now, we've also got some big rumors going on in the WWE regarding some new talent signings, and if you want to talk about that a little bit more, click on this video right here. But like I said, thanks for hanging out with me today on Rumble Rewind. We'll see you on the next one.